Hi, I'm Patrick McConville, and this is Edible Architect. At Edible Architect, we want to make it as quick and easy as possible to build buildings out of cookies. To do so, we sell cookie cutter construction sets and cookie texture rollers to make the process super easy and provide original recipes and complete instructional videos like this one to guide you through the process. For the month of May, we will be building a Cookie Conservatory, which is a greenhouse-themed house, including potted plants that we'll put both inside and outside the structure, as well as our Cookie Conservatory vine texture roller. The recipe for this month includes dried rose powder, so I think it'll be a really unique and delicious recipe, and it'll have an amazing color that comes naturally without any additional food coloring. When you're ready to begin baking, grab your supplies and we will go ahead and get started baking the dough for our walls. The cookie recipe for the May design, which is our Cookie Conservatory, is our Relishable Rose recipe, and it includes dried rose powder as well as rose water. You can find both of those ingredients on Amazon or any other online retailer. And to get started, assemble your building materials, which will include unsalted butter, granulated sugar, rose water, room temperature egg whites, and then I have whisked together our dry ingredients, which include cake flour, the dried rose petal, and our salt, as well as baking soda. So go ahead, whisk those together, and when you have your materials, you can begin to cream your butter either in the bowl of a stand mixer or in a regular bowl if you'll be using a hand mixer, as well as your sugar. So go ahead, add your butter and sugar to your mixer, as well as 1 teaspoon of rose water. And then combine those until you have a consistency where all of the sugar has been creamed into the butter. Once you've creamed your sugar into your butter, you want to add your room temperature egg whites one at a time, beating well after each addition. Once you've beaten your egg whites, you should have a pretty smooth consistency, and you can begin to add your dry mixture. That you will want to add in roughly quarter cup increments, beating well after each addition and making sure that you have a pretty uniform consistency throughout your dough. Ideally, you want something that's crumbly, but that when pinched between your fingers will hold together. So begin to introduce in roughly quarter cup increments your dry mixture, and then combine that entirely into your dough. And then we will begin splitting our dough and getting ready to roll out our pieces. And when you're finished mixing your dry mixture into your dough, you should have a really crumbly texture like this, but one that will stay together when squeezed. So turn your dough out onto your work surface and knead it just a bit, and then we will split it into 2 pieces and wrap it in plastic wrap. Once you've made your dough, you can either use it immediately or put it in the fridge for up to 24 hours and then make your cookies whenever you're ready. I will be making mine now, so go ahead and when you're ready to begin baking your cookies, grab your cookie cutter construction set and come back here and we'll start cutting out our pieces. When you're ready to begin baking your cookies, grab your dough balls, your blueprints from your cookie cutter construction set, as well as the cookie cutters themselves. And you'll see that for this greenhouse design, we have a lot of window cutouts so that you'll really be able to see all of the potted plant cookies that we will be putting inside and around the outside. You will also need, if you have, your cookie texture roller. In this case, this is the vine texture roller that goes along with the Cookie Conservatory kit. And then I have a little bit of excess cake flour that I'll use to powder my surfaces as I roll out my dough. I have my rolling pin fitted with my rolling pin bands at 1/8 of an inch in order to ensure a uniform thickness throughout my cookies. And then finally, just a few tools in order to pry the window and door cutouts from their openings. These are some artist palette knives, but you can use clay tools, you can use a butter knife, whatever's convenient for you. And what we will be doing is rolling out our dough to that nice 1/8 inch thickness. The dough itself, by the way, smells really great. That rose fragrance really comes through, and the color that it gets from just those rose petals is really beautiful. So you'll want to roll that out to 1/8 inch thickness and then cut out all of your cookie pieces. For this particular design, you will need 2 each of several pieces. First, you will need 2 of each of your side walls. You will need 2 each of the front and back, and you will also need 2 each of the roof. And then you will be able to make as many as you like of each of the potted plants and flowers that will be put inside and around the outside of the structure. Those, of course, you can decorate fully to really make them look as much like realistic flowers and plants as you'd like. So I'll go ahead, I will be cutting out all of the pieces and then transferring them to lined cookie sheets. I've lined cookie sheets with parchment paper and then putting them into a 375-degree preheated oven for approximately 10 to 12 minutes. So begin rolling out your cookies, cut everything out, pop it in the oven, and then we will cool everything and be ready for our assembly. And if you find, like I am right now, that your dough is too dry and too crumbly, you can wet your hands and then knead the dough and to slowly incorporate a little bit more moisture into the dough to make it more workable. But you want to do that very slowly because you don't want to add too much moisture to your dough because it will cause steam, which will make bubbles in the cookies. So just very little by little, carefully add water to your dough by adding it to your hands, kneading it in, and then we will cut out our cookies. Before you cut out any of the walls or roof pieces, you will want to go ahead and, if you are using a cookie texture roller, roll that in a random pattern on your dough. And when you cut out the cookies, it'll look like there are vines growing up the sides of your greenhouse. Once your cookies are just beginning to turn a bit golden, remove them from the oven. That should be at about the 10-minute mark or so. You can go ahead and set them aside to cool for 10 minutes in the trays and then remove them and place them on wire racks in order to cool for an additional minimum of 15 minutes. You can then go ahead and use a brush in order to remove any excess flour from the outsides of the cookies, and that will make them nice and clean. They'll taste better without the excess flour, and the icing will be better able to adhere to the cookies. Once those are set aside to cool, you can begin to make your mortar or royal icing. And to accompany this rose cookie, I developed a royal icing that incorporates matcha powder so that it has a natural green color and a really beautiful flavor that I think will balance the flavor of the rose really nicely. To make your icing, you can consult your blueprints where you'll find the recipe for both the cookie and the icing. And to make it, you will need room temperature egg whites. You will need what I've whisked together here, which is confectioner sugar, matcha powder, and cream of tartar. And then you can set that together in a bowl, whisk it together. And then here I have a pastry bag fitted with a tip where I will place the icing so that I can pipe it onto the cookies and put the house together. When you're ready to get started, you can go ahead and add your egg whites to the bowl of a stand mixer or to a regular bowl if you'll be using a hand mixer. And then mix those for 1 to 3 minutes until they're nice and frothy. And at that point, we will begin adding our dry mixture. Once those are quite foamy, you can begin to add your dry mixture. Add it in roughly 1/4 cup increments until it's all been incorporated into the mixture, and then turn it on high and whip it on high for anywhere between 2 and 5 minutes. You want to monitor it closely. And what you want really is a texture that's light and fluffy, but that will stand up with stiff peaks so that you can put a house together with it. You don't want to overmix it where it becomes too thick that you won't be able to push it through a piping bag. And you don't want it to be too thin and runny where it won't hold the house together. Everything will be a sloppy mess. So keep checking it regularly. Once you've gotten everything added, mix it for that roughly 3 minutes to get the right texture and consistency. And then we will add it to our piping bag. If you end up with a consistency that's too thin, like I did, you can add some powdered sugar, a couple of spoonfuls at a time until you get the right consistency. Alternatively, if it's too thick, you can add a small amount of water or a little bit of lemon juice, a tiny bit at a time, until you get the right consistency. Once you're happy with it, we can transfer it to our piping bag, seal it off, and we'll be ready to begin building the house. When you're ready to assemble your cookie house, gather first and foremost all of your completed cookies once they've cooled completely. They should look something like this. And as you can see, the rose petal powder really gives a beautiful color and they smell incredible. And if you did taste any of the scraps as you went along, they taste incredible as well. Here we have our mortar. I also have my waterproof blueprints where I have my build plan and I can follow along in written form if I want as I am building my house. And then here I have the platform on which I will be constructing my Cookie Conservatory. You want to go ahead and first take one of the front back walls and the side wall and then starting with the front back wall, determine where you want one of those walls to be, and then draw a line using a pencil on your platform to indicate the exact length of that wall where you want it to be. You can then take the longer wall, which will be the side wall, and perpendicular to that, draw another line that exact length. That will give you a nice square starting point from which you can build your house and everything will align more perfectly. When you're ready to begin, also take something that you can use as a support so that you can temporarily lean walls against it as you're building. And you want to also take anything that you'll be using for decoration. So in my case, I have some dried rose buds that I'll be using along with the cookie plants to decorate the greenhouse and fill the inside and outside with flowers. I'll also be using a variety of different tips on my royal icing piping bag in order to add leaves, vines, various different green elements of interest to the greenhouse. And I will also be creating some sandwich cookies where I will actually stick two like pots together and I will create a sandwich cookie that I can then put inside the greenhouse and it'll have more of a three-dimensional feel. So when you're ready to begin building your house, you will want to take your mortar and first one of your front or back walls. So that would be this piece here. So take one of those pieces, and as you can see, it's a really beautiful design because it has so many cutouts. So whatever we put inside will be on full display. And you could also fill these windows with candy if you wanted. So if you put Jolly Ranchers, crush them up, put them in the oven for 5 minutes at 350 degrees, you would get beautiful candy glass windows that could either be transparent or multicolor, depending on the candies that you put in. I am going to leave these blank because I want the cookie to taste good when I serve it. And I will add a line of icing along this bottom edge here. And then we're going to take that wall and press it down into place along that shorter first pencil line that we drew, and press it down into the board. And we can then use our support to lean it against. Next, we want to take one of our side walls. So I will take this one. And ensuring that the larger windows are at the top, we will add a line of icing to the bottom edge and to the edge that will join that front wall. And you can then press that wall down into place along that longer perpendicular line that you drew, and then join it with the front wall at the corner and just squeeze the edges together carefully so that you get a nice clean and squared edge. Next, we will take the other side wall and we will repeat that process on this side here. So we will take that other side wall, add a line of icing to the bottom and to the edge that will meet that front wall. And then press that down into place, creating a perpendicular line with the front wall parallel to the other side. And then again, just carefully squeeze your corners together and make sure that you have nice, clean edges. And it's okay if the icing squeezes out around the edges a little bit, because it will give the effect of vines, because we will be decorating this with cookies and then with some of these decorative flowers in my case. So it'll really give the effect of grass at the bottom, vines growing up the sides, and the matcha green tea tastes really, really good if you tasted it. Okay, so we will next be placing our back wall. So take that wall, and then you will want to first add a line of icing to the front edge or back edge of either side wall, and then add a line of icing to the bottom edge of that back wall, and then we will be placing that in place. And then press that down into place and join your corners together so that you get nice squared edges. And we have now completed our base structure. At this point, I am going to create a few sandwich cookies using the potted plants to create three-dimensional plants that I'll put inside of the greenhouse or conservatory. You want, at this point, to make sure that you remove your support so that it does not get trapped inside the house when we apply the roof. And you want to just make sure that you place your lights, if you have put lights up and through your stand like I have. You just want to place them in the center, and then we will press the cookies in place around the lights, and then when we light up the structure, it'll shine through the plants. So if you're going to do the same, take cookies that are the same, pair them, and then you can go ahead, create a bunch of sandwich cookies, and we'll use them in our display. And then whenever you're ready, you can begin placing plants inside the greenhouse. And there's no right or wrong way to do it, so just place them however you'd like. I'm going to begin with this sandwich cactus that I made and place it somewhere close to the center. So I'm going to use a generous amount of icing on the bottom here. And then I will seat that down into place. All right, and we have our first plant. So repeat that process until you have all of your plants in the greenhouse, and then we will apply our roof and finish decorating. And I decided against adding any of these roses to the inside of my greenhouse because I do not have tweezers handy and I don't want to risk knocking any of the plants over because I really like the way that they're positioned right now. So once you're happy with what's inside of your greenhouse, we can apply our roof. And to apply the roof, you will want to pick one side of the house to begin on, and I think I will begin with this side here. Take one of your roof pieces and then add a line of icing along the 3 top edges of the side where you'll be placing that roof. And you can hold it in place and do a dry fit if you want, just to make sure that it will fit. Then go ahead and add your icing and we'll press it down into place. And when you press it into place, you just want to make sure that the top edge does not protrude beyond the peak on either front or back of the house. And then we will turn the house around and apply our other side. To do that, we will add a line of icing to those top 3 edges on this side as well as that center roofline edge. And then take your other roof piece and press that down into place, just slightly overlapping the roof piece that you just placed. And then gently press your edges together until you have nice, clean corners where everything meets up. And we have an enclosed greenhouse. And at this point, we can do the best part, which is to decorate it. So take any of your remaining plants, potted plants, place them around the outside of the house. You can pipe on any leaves using tips or vines growing on the house. You can use any kinds of candies or other decorations that you'll be using. So really make it your own, but the idea is to make it a greenhouse, so I think florals are appropriate. So decorate as you like, and then we will come back and we will light up our houses and we'll be ready to eat them. When you've finished decorating, your completed Cookie Conservatory should look something like this. As you can see, it's a nice structure, nice clean lines, a lot of windows, so it really gives the effect of a greenhouse. And then that Matcha Royal Icing really just has the perfect color to go with that beautiful rose cookie, and it smells incredible. So I really cannot wait to eat this. Now, I designed this greenhouse and the rose cookie because I thought it was something that mothers might enjoy. So to all the moms out there, happy Mother's Day. If you're watching this in May, Mom, not to ruin the surprise, but we will be making one of these. If you do make one with your mom, or if you make any of our cookie houses, please tag us at Edible Architect on social media. use #EdibleArchitect, and please like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video and you'd like to see more. We can go ahead and switch on our light kit, which I snaked up and through the platform, and we get the full effect of our beautiful greenhouse. And this is definitely something I would serve with tea. So I would serve it with tea, enjoy it with your mom or any of the moms in your life. And I hope you have a great May. If you are interested in the Cookie Conservatory cookie cutter construction set or the vine texture roller that we use today, you can find those on ediblearchitect.com in our shop. All of our cookie cutter construction sets will be available there, released monthly, and you can find links to helpful videos like this, as well as original recipes that you can mix and match with any of your cookie cutter construction sets. Thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to see what you build next.